Well, hello, my name is Rosalyn, and I want to know why is it that we put so much money and effort into our home design in terms of wall color, furniture, rugs, art, but we often completely ignore something that can take our spaces to the next level. So today I want to talk about trim. I think a lot of us generally stay to the safe side and are a little scared of incorporating bold or bright colors into our home design. But I would say that even those who do incorporate color often overlook the trim. In the real homes that I physically visit, I often see just white trim everywhere. The exception I've seen is those who have color drenched. That makes the trim blend into the walls by painting everything, ceiling, walls, trim, doors, the same color. It has been 1 year since I painted my living room, hall, and dining room the color Chilled Wine by Benjamin Moore. And yes, I did get influenced by Paige Wassel. It feels like being enveloped in a warm curry. The same time I painted my space that color, I was helping my friend remove wallpaper in her house, and the color underneath her wallpaper was very similar to that. And as we were peeling it away, she was like, "Ugh, who would paint their house this color?" I was like, me. It's me. That's the cool thing about colors, is that they are so subjective and it's all about the beholder, and you can do whatever you want in your own space, of course. But I haven't touched the trim or doors in these spaces in the whole year that has passed. I chalk this up to indecisiveness plus burnout. I did one really big push to finish the basement, and after that I took a really big break. I felt that I didn't have to paint it right away because I felt like white was a good placeholder. It wasn't like, oh, this is awful, this is bad, I gotta change it now. But the reality is that it does make the space look and feel unfinished. I associate white with primer. So every white wall or trim or door that I see, I feel as though it's just waiting for its final color to be painted on it. Trim can become a decorative element when you give it a chance. I've talked about color theory before in other videos, but just as complementary colors really highlight each other and brighten each other up, contrasting colors show each other off. With contrasting trim, we're given lines and pattern to create interest and rhythm in the space. The trim grounds our spaces as an outline and visually takes us through the portals of the doorways. These lines that lead us through the space create depth, and that's why I want to see them highlighted, not glossed over. I think color drenching can work when there's really interesting architectural details or interesting lines in the design of the room. When there's enough texture and detail in the wall or trim to create this depth with how the light hits different places and casts shadows. However, I think the majority of us live in homes that don't really often have these types of details in the trim and the walls. These majestic details are always missing from especially newer builds. So I'll almost always advocate for painting the trim. If you love white and neutrals, I think that can be lovely if there is intentionality with it. There's so many types of white and they can bring out different things in the different spaces and different lightings. If your walls are colorful and you want to keep the trim white, then I would really suggest an off-white. If your walls are a cool color, then opt for a warmer white to kind of bring in a little bit of warmth into that space. If your walls are a warmer color, I feel like you could go warm or cool with the white. I mean, there's no such thing as just a plain, just plain white. All the colors are mixed, so they have stuff going on in there. Getting something with just a tinge of another color, just a hint, a hint of depth, looks really good and takes it away from looking like a primed piece of wood. As someone who picks paint colors on the fly and rarely does swatching, I can't believe it's been a year of not painting this trim. It's kind of crazy. I think what kept stopping me or making me feel like the stakes were high is the fact that this color would span 3 spaces and encapsulate 8 doorways and doors. So this color had to make sense with the walls, but also everything that was going on inside doorways that you could look through. One thing that is interesting about it taking a year is that my taste has shifted in some ways. I think at the time when I painted the walls that color, I was definitely thinking I'm gonna paint the trim red. I was pretty much only using warm colors for large spaces, but I did end up doing that downstairs, but the walls themselves were a minty color, so that space is already cool, and then the red helps warm it up. But upstairs it would have been warm walls, and then the red would have just added more warmth. There would have been some depth in it, but I think now I have gotten past the desire to want red trim upstairs. Gavin and I were looking at paint colors last night, and we had the paint chip of our wall color. For me, contrast is really important, so if a color was tonally close, even if it was a completely different color, I put it back. That means if you put them in a grayscale and they look almost the same, then that is not good contrast. Our wall color was pretty much medium tone, so we knew we would go either very light or very dark to get that contrast. Since the color was so warm, I wanted to introduce some coolness. I looked at a lot of the blues, and it's really helpful to look at the furniture and rugs you have in the space and remember this is all part of your color palette. I was at work a few weeks ago, and I was just kind of holding my water bottle in my hand, and I noticed that part of the bottle has a color in it that's really similar to our wall color, and the color scheme on the bottle is really beautiful and I really like it. Knowing I loved these colors together helped steer me towards colors to sample in the space. I know that I've advocated for going swatchless when picking paint colors and starting to paint, but when it's an area that's kind of spanning a large space and there's all sorts of different lightings, different doorways, and the color is going to be the same color in all these spaces, then I think swatching is a little bit necessary. And you can argue that that's what every space is. Every space has like 50 different lightings going on, which is true. This space had me really thinking like I need to make sure that I get it right. Here are the colors I got to try. Purple was my favorite color when I was a tween. I had purple everything. People were always getting me purple stuff. I was purple girl. And then when I became an adult, I was like, purple's the worst. But now I like it. I like light purple again. Wow, you can barely see that. I'll do the kitchen door frame. I spackled these door frames last year. Have not sanded them. So with my tests, I should avoid those areas. Oh, and I need the caulk. Okay. I feel like you can barely tell that this is purple. It just looks like white. It's the next morning and I'm staring at my paint swatches on all the doors. It's really hard for the footage not to be totally like blown out. But these are all the areas that I painted last night. I know that I really like the light blue, but I also enjoy the dark blue. I could grow to really love the dark blue, but I know at this point I really like the light blue better. I do think that the light blue is too light. It barely makes an impact, whereas the dark blue makes a really big impact. So I think when I go and get my actual gallon of paint, I'm gonna get a slightly more saturated blue. Can you put this in the sink for me?
In the sink?
Yes, please. Thank you. Can you get me a brown paper bag, please? Thank you. The paint color that I ended up getting was called Carefree Sky by Behr. I did not get a sample of this and swatch it. I just knew that I wanted a shade darker than what I already had on the trim. Something else to consider with paint color is the juxtaposition of the type of color. When I look at a color, I think that it can feel more youthful and juvenile or more mature and sophisticated depending on how complex of a color it is. I associate primary colors with more of the youthful, juvenile, fun, playful, and I associate colors that are tertiary or not really even seen on the regular color wheel, but the colors that are somewhere in the middle and have some gray added in, some variety in tone. Like our wall colors, this chilled wine isn't really a clear, definitive color. I think the closest thing to it would be yellow, but looking at it, you wouldn't say, oh yeah, your walls are yellow. So I really like that the wall colors are the sophisticated color, and then the trim is a really cool juxtaposition of that, toying with the idea of playfulness with this almost sky blue that feels almost primary blue with some white added to it. And the color just feels very sweet and playful. And the whole time I was painting, I was cackling and giggling because I was so excited by how it was looking. I kept saying to Gavin, I feel like I'm in a dollhouse, or I feel like I'm in a cartoon. And those things make me excited, and they really energized the space and refreshed it. And I think that's exactly the word for it. I compared the wall colors before with curry, and just like curry, this color can be a little bit heavy, a little bit rich, and sometimes it needs a balance. Like my mom says, with cooking and things we eat, we have to have yin and yang. And so we needed an element of freshness to really balance out the meal, the feast of our eyes that we would take in when sitting and enjoying our time in this space. Well, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
The life of Rosalind is the life for